Hey guys, Sean from Invest to Live here. Uh, Here's the deal. There's a lot going on in the crypto world right now, from Bitcoin to Ethereum to even Doge. So what I really want before I get into this is please let me know below in the comments if you're in Bitcoin and buying more, in Ether and buying more, some combination of the two, or if you're in a totally different realm of the crypto space. I'm really not sure where I want to go at this point, so I'd love to get some opinions below from people who are really deep into this and have been in it. So what I want to talk about today was a couple of things, and really this is spurred on by waking up and seeing the price of Bitcoin today. So I want to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, because it's really popular, and a little bit of XRP as well. So let's pop on in here. For those who've seen some of my earlier videos, I got into the crypto game very early. I was a miner way back in the day, mining Bitcoin, then Ether, and then some other random coins I don't fool around with at all anymore. So I'm fairly experienced in this. Certainly have made some money on it over the years. I originally got I got into Bitcoin in the three figures in the hundreds, jumped out around the 15, 16K mark. So definitely saw some success there. And I dribble in and out, buy a little bit here, buy a little bit there over time. And then same with Ether, pick up a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm a very, very traditional portfolio manager for the sake of how I run my own capital and run my own money. And this is a good point to say I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not providing any financial advice here whatsoever. Merely entertainment and education only here. But when it comes to cryptocurrencies, one thing I've always looked at it as is that it is definitely not part of my core portfolio. I'm very much a traditional portfolio manager from the sense of I have my core portfolio, I have real estate, stocks and bonds, REITs, the whole shebang. I do a lot of options work and futures work as well. But then I also carve out a small piece of my overall portfolio for alternative asset classes, crypto being part of that. So I continuously hold some coin in some form. Typically I like BTC and I like Ether, but here and there we'll go into different things. But what's going on right now is frankly wild. I think that we're seeing a combination of things, from FOMO to greed to trying to get rich really quick to not understanding what's going on in the markets. We're also seeing large amounts of institutional capital jumping in and frankly making a boatload of money. But I want to give a really quick blurb from my perspective on each of the topics I'm talking about today. So let's start number one with Bitcoin. So this isn't meant to be a deep or really in-depth conversation on what Bitcoin is. I'm just talking about the way that I see it and how I visualize it, and why I put my money into it. For me, Bitcoin is not about creating a new form of cash. It's not about a new form of asset class. For me, it's really about the utility of Bitcoin to transfer money quickly and safely, leveraging blockchain technology from one party to another party. When people often will say to me, well, Bitcoin's a scam, or it's no good, or doesn't make any sense, I always reference the point that, if you happen to live in the United States like I do, Bitcoin may not make a lot of sense. You can go down the street to a bank or to an ATM, or you can simply do things like a Venmo or something else to transfer money quickly. The utility of Bitcoin is really, if you don't have access to things like this, or you're in a high inflationary country where money's sort of out of control, this is an easy way to store your capital and transfer it to places you want it to go. And sure, I know that there's a lot of things that can be done here that are very negative and very bad as well. This isn't about morality. This is purely about utility at this point. So the ability to transfer money quickly and easily, the ability to keep your money sort of in a disconnected asset class, for me, that's the value of Bitcoin. For Ethereum, a similar conversation, where the utility of Ethereum for me is really as a platform for developing and building on. I'm a big blockchain guy by nature. I work in analytics, and I also been around blockchain since really the beginning in my days in that technology space there. So Ethereum is really one of those ones where you can do a lot with this. It's got a good technology perspective and ability to build on it. Doge, just for the sake of talking about a Dogecoin, really no real utility from my point of view. I urge you to disagree with me and tell me why in the comments below. But for me, Dogecoin is really more about like a well-known coin that's really, really cheap. And I think people are trying to get into speculating that it might someday go way up. And frankly, it has gone up a lot today in the past 24 hours as well. So, I held a little bit of Doge. I actually closed out of it to take my 100% return on that in the past week here. So for what it's worth, I do jump in and out of that from time to time. And then the last piece is Ripple or XRP. So there's currently an ongoing issue with the SEC and Ripple right now. Coinbase, I believe, has stopped allowing trading of XRP as it stands right now. So this sort of feeds into my thought process with Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. And I know that there's a lot of other coins to talk about. I'm not going to go into details because I'm not an expert in any of them, and I don't want to give any information that could be misunderstood to be wrong here. So let's just talk about this real quick. I'm looking at some current numbers today. Bitcoin in the past 24 hours, up another 11% to 32,000 and change. Ethereum is up to 774. Let me see. Ether is down to 22 cents. And let me just find the most recent Doge number here. Let me see. Where are you, Doge? Naturally, I had it right in front of me until I actually had to look for it here. Let me see. Oh man, this is hard to find for some reason. Normally I have it right at the top here. Let me pull it up 1 sec. Doge is currently sitting at 0.008596, up 74%. So look, here's really where my head's at. I'm not really sure where to start to diversify here between how much of a holding of Bitcoin versus Ether I want to have. I'm hearing a lot of folks out there talking about like a 60-40 split Ether to Bitcoin. Some folks are starting to take profit on Bitcoin and moving to Ether. There's some mixture of other coins coming into play as well. So here's my take on what's going on right now. I think Doge is riding the wave of people seeing that big pop like we saw a few years back. And so they're trying to get in with a large volume and try to take advantage of those big pops. I get that. I don't know if there's a long-term strategy or not to be had there, frankly. I can understand why you would do that, but to me, it seems like really with a lack of utility, it's more just about pure speculation and anything can happen there. Where I'm really interested to see is, are people moving out of XRP and into Bitcoin and Ether? Is that helping to drive this? Now, we know that recently there's been a lot of institutional capital jumping into Bitcoin. Large old banks, technology companies are really buying up a lot of Bitcoin, which, let's be frank, they've made a ton of money lately. But I think the reality is that doesn't help the small investor understand now at this point where things are we expecting this to keep going higher? Are we expecting to see a big drop like we did a few years back? And I'll just give you some perspective from someone who's actually been in the space for a while and has seen the come up and the come down and the come up again. For those holders out there, well done, because you're sitting on some money now for sure. With most things in the way that I trade and the way I operate my investments, I typically set goals for what I believe is a good range. I look at it, I analyze the price and where I think it's going to be and where it's going to end, and then I pick my exit points. This is probably the first time in a long time. I really don't know that I have that. There's all kinds of evidence looking at different ranges of technical analysis on Bitcoin as an example that you can see Bitcoin jump to 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, right? Whoever does the math can do it in different ways. They can build a chart to show different reasons why they believe this, tied back to volatility, the way it's moved over years, different things like that. What I'm curious to know is, are we going to see a drop like we did in the past? And would that be an opportunity to buy more? Are we going to see a continuous rise, maybe hit that 50K in the next couple of months and then see a drop? Or are we in just a straight tear here? What I'm waiting to see and really get my arms around is what kind of movement from different currencies into this one are we seeing, right? Or is Ripple actually moving into BTC? Is there more institutional capital coming in? Or conversely, now that they've had such a huge return, are you going to start to see some sort of a sell-off from that institutional side of the house? Now, I just saw an article the other day that one analyst is starting to see a ton of whales jumping into Ether, representing only probably a handful of wallets, under 100 new wallets, but holding a lot of coin. So there's a question is, are we going to start to see people cashing out of Bitcoin and moving into Ether and try to take that up a bit? Ether being in the 700s, it's not hard to imagine it can jump up to 1,000. And in years past, we've seen it move wildly. When I was mining Ether back in the day, man, I tell you, it was like yesterday. I can remember it going from, you buy Ether for the cup of coffee, and the next thing I know, it's, over $1,000. I couldn't believe what was going on. So look, I think really what I wanted to get out today, because as you can tell, I'm pretty excited. This is a crazy time to be alive during the crypto pricing explosions we're seeing again here. I really am just curious, what do you think is going to happen? Throw something down below, educate us if you know more about this, if you have additional articles or things you think that'll be of value to this audience. I think for me personally, what I'm looking at is probably somewhere in that 60-40 mix of Ether to Bitcoin. And I think I'm probably just going to continue to add here for a little while. I'm not as worried about, let me even back up from that. I think that there's this misunderstanding of how people invest their money where they think they have to get in really low and then they can never add more because they're worried of bringing their average price up. A lot of, big time investors, hedge funds, private equity firms, anyone who deals in equity markets, a lot of times what you'll see is they don't mind scaling into a position even at a higher price because they'll still be able to capture that price differential. So for me, that's sort of my approach here is I'm okay adding at these prices. Not maybe as much, but on dips, I'm probably likely to be buying in. I'd love to hear what you think about that as well. And you listen, if you're still watching the video right now, please like and subscribe. We have more of this content coming all the time. But I look forward to hearing what you say. And honestly, I'm open to hearing opinions on it and I'd love to discuss it with you as well. So thanks so much for listening and have a good day and good luck out there.